You probably started this year with a plan. Maybe you wrote it down, maybe you just held it in your head, but either way, you knew what you wanted to accomplish. And now, 3 weeks in, if you're honest with yourself, you're busy but not focused. You're working but not on the thing that matters. You finish the day exhausted but unsure what you actually built. Here's what most productivity advice won't tell you. The problem isn't that you lack discipline. It's not that you need a better morning routine or a more aggressive goal. The problem is that your focus is being quietly dismantled by a set of hidden structural issues. Issues that have nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with how your attention system is being sabotaged before you even sit down to work. There are 6 specific problems that researchers have identified as the primary destroyers of sustained focus, and most people are dealing with at least 4 of them without realizing it. These aren't vague concepts. Each one has a clear cause and a specific habit-based solution. What follows isn't theory, it's a system. 6 problems, 6 fixes, and if you implement even half of them over the next 90 days, your capacity for deep work will fundamentally change. The first problem is decision residue, and it's killing your morning focus before you even open your laptop. You wake up, and within minutes, you're making dozens of small decisions. What to wear, what to eat, whether to check email, which task to start with. Each decision feels trivial, but cognitively, they accumulate. Research on decision fatigue shows that every choice you make depletes a limited pool of cognitive resources, and by the time you sit down to do your most important work, you're already running on fumes. The fix is a concept called a pre-decision protocol. Every Sunday, you script your first 90 minutes of every weekday.
Not loosely, specifically. You decide what time you wake up, what you eat, what you wear, and what task you begin with. You remove choice from the equation entirely. For example, wake at 6, drink water, eat the same breakfast, wear the outfit you laid out the night before, sit down at your desk at 7 and start with 30 minutes of writing on Project X. No deviation. This isn't about rigidity, it's about preserving decision-making capacity for the work that actually requires it. The second problem is task switching cost, and it's why you feel busy but unproductive. You think you're multitasking, but neurologically, you're rapidly switching between tasks, and every switch comes with a cognitive penalty. Studies from the University of California found that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully re-engage with a task after an interruption. Most people switch tasks dozens of times a day, which means they never actually achieve deep focus. They're perpetually in a state of shallow reorientation. The habit that fixes this is called time blocking with a single task constraint. You don't just block time, you block time for one task, and you remove all access to other tasks during that block. Concretely, you choose a 90-minute window, you put your phone in another room, you close every browser tab except the one you need, and you set a visible timer. If another task enters your mind, you write it on a piece of paper and return to it later. The goal isn't to finish the task, it's to train your brain to stay in one cognitive context without jumping. The third problem is ambiguous task identity, and it's the reason you procrastinate even when you have time. You sit down to work on the proposal or make progress on the project, but your brain doesn't know what that actually means. Ambiguity creates cognitive friction, and friction creates avoidance. Research on implementation intentions shows that vague goals lead to significantly lower follow-through than specific ones. The fix is a habit called task pre-specification. Before you add anything to your calendar, you define the task in terms of a single completable action with a visible output. Instead of work on proposal, you write draft the 3-paragraph problem statement for the proposal and save it in the client folder. Instead of research competitors, you write create a spreadsheet with 5 competitor names, their pricing, and 1 differentiator each. This takes an extra 30 seconds when you plan, but it eliminates the cognitive load when you execute. You're no longer deciding what to do, you're just doing what you already decided.
The fourth problem is environmental drift, and it's why your focus deteriorates over the course of the day. Your environment isn't static, it shifts. Your desk gets cluttered, notifications accumulate, browser tabs multiply, and by midday, you're working in a completely different cognitive space than you started in.
Environmental psychology research shows that even small changes in your surroundings can significantly impact cognitive performance. The fix is a habit called environmental reset points. You choose 3 moments during the day, typically mid-morning, after lunch, and mid-afternoon, and you spend 2 minutes resetting your space. You close all browser tabs, clear your desk, turn off notifications again, and return your environment to its optimal state. This isn't cleaning for the sake of cleaning. It's a deliberate cognitive reset that signals to your brain that you're starting fresh. For example, at 10:30, noon 30, and 3:30, you stand up, close everything, take 3 deep breaths, and sit back down to a clean slate. The fifth problem is attention residue, which is distinct from decision residue, but equally destructive. This happens when you finish one task, but your mind is still partially engaged with it, which prevents you from fully focusing on the next task. Sophie Leroy's research on attention residue found that people perform significantly worse on subsequent tasks when they haven't properly closed the loop on the previous one. The fix is a habit called task closure rituals. At the end of every focused work session, you spend 60 seconds explicitly closing the task. You write 1 sentence summarizing what you accomplished, 1 sentence on what's next, and you physically or digitally file the work away. For example, after finishing a draft, you write completed first draft of section 2. Next step is to add data sources. Then you close the document and move it to a completed today folder. This small act signals psychological completion and frees your attention for the next thing. The sixth problem is energy misallocation, and it's why you run out of steam before the day is over. Most people treat energy as infinite and schedule their hardest work whenever it happens to fit. But cognitive energy is finite, cyclical, and predictable. Research on ultradian rhythms shows that mental performance peaks in roughly 90-minute cycles, and within each day, most people have a narrow window of peak cognitive capacity. The fix is a habit called chronotype-aligned scheduling. You identify your personal peak focus window. For most people, it's within the first 3 hours after waking, and you ruthlessly protect it for your most cognitively demanding work. Nothing else goes in that window. No meetings, no email, no administrative tasks. If your peak window is 7 to 10 a.m., that's when you write, design, code, or strategize. Everything else gets scheduled after. This requires saying no to requests that land in your peak window, but the productivity gain is non-negotiable. These 6 problems aren't personality flaws, they're system failures. Focus isn't a trait you're born with, it's a set of conditions you create. Most people will spend the next 90 days reacting to whatever comes at them, wondering why they feel scattered. You don't have to do that. You can build a different structure. Start with one problem. Implement one habit and let it stabilize before adding the next. By April, you'll have a system that actually works. That's the difference between hoping you'll focus better and knowing you will.